Hello everyone, my name is Prima, and welcome back to this series, where I try to create a believable and cohesive ecosystem out of the Kanto region. There have been 5 episodes of this series so far, and I highly recommend checking those out before diving into this one, as they're all pretty much connected to each other. Last time I talked about 2 signal lines that are surprisingly common in the Kanto region for some reason, and how they all interacted and acted with each other. I ended that episode with the Bibarel line, and since that's a Pokemon that's in the water a lot, well, guess what? There's also a lot of other Pokemon in the water. What a surprise! In both freshwater and saltwater, there are lots of Pokemon to be found, and that's what this episode will be about. Today, I'll be mostly covering freshwater, as there are a lot of Pokemon you can find in those waters, whether you're fishing or surfing, and one of those is the Kingler line. These Krabby Pokemon are found pretty much anywhere, from saltwater to freshwater, so no doubt that Bibarel sees them often, though I doubt that they interact much. These Pokemon are, by no surprise, pretty much just like crabs. Heck, Krabby's Japanese name is just crab. But what do these Pokemon do in the wild, and how do they interact with their ecosystem? Starting with Krabby, these Pokemon are found near beaches, where they dig holes and hide in, presumably waiting for prey to get close, and snap them with their powerful pinchers. Since they're not only found near saltwater, they probably just do the same near any place with soft ground. It is called the river crab Pokemon after all, so I don't know why most dex entries talk about saltwater. The varying locations they are found makes a lot of sense, however, because crabs in real life are pretty omnivorous, so they can get their food basically anywhere. And Krabby definitely seems like it has not much trouble at all finding food, even just being able to absorb nutrients from the sand. The problem it does have though is fighting with others, due to its seemingly territorial nature. Oh, and breaking their pincers. That happens a lot in battle. But luckily for these Pokemon, they can just regrow them, after having duked it out with probably another Krabby. So, if you're in a mood for some good cheap food, just go to any place these Pokemon are found, as their pincers might just be abundant on the ground and in the water, which the Pokemon living around the area must appreciate. You don't gotta hunt for it, it's just there, free, easy food. Which makes this scene from Sword and Shield definitely a bit less messed up. Although, who's to say that they don't eat each other anyway in the wild? They're presumably on the menu for lots anyway, since it has a defense mechanism where it cloaks itself with bubbles, so it'll appear bigger. Clever strategy. Plus, if it's foaming from the mouth, it probably won't look too appetizing. Alright, so this little crab can just eat whatever it wants. You know, that really helps with its growth in its baby stage. When it evolves into Kingler though, it seems more focused on a new diet, however. This crustacean has the power of 10,000 horses. No wait, 10,000 horsepower. I don't know what this means, and I'm pretty sure its strength shouldn't be measured by something like this, but because of its enormous strength, it's able to smash open Shellder and Cloister. This was even shown in the anime. Not canon, I know, but it was still pretty cool. Although in the wild, that Cloister is not safe. Just like any other, some creatures specialize in a certain type of food, and it seems that Kingler does that with hard-shelled Pokemon. Problem is, while powerful, that claw, yeah, it's obviously very heavy, so that means it gets tired really quickly. But hey, if it gets tired, it could just easily smash open some Shelders to get that energy right back. This claw is also used for communicating, though I mostly think it's used for mating purposes. You know, the one with the biggest claw gets to bounce uglies. So these Pokemon, again, they're just crabs. Just crabs, but more powerful and more special because they're Pokemon. Kingler's diet, however, is very interesting, because in this franchise we don't see a lot of canonical predator-prey relationships, so it's very interesting to see. Shellder and Cloister are certainly cool Pokemon though, having been around since even Omastar's time. I've always found Shellder to be a pretty cute Pokemon. It's just some eyes and a tongue, and I just really like that simplistic design. But what might look like a slow Pokemon, it's actually faster than you might assume. Its method of swimming is quite humorous too. By opening and closing its 2 shells, it swims backwards, like a cephalopod basically. So this one also has no issue at all catching prey. Its tongue is always sticking out, even when sleeping at night, and if you yoink it, its whole body will just open up from the shock. Better not say that to any Pokemon around though, who might want to snack on something. This tongue is used for burrowing under the seabed to search for food, but also seemingly it's used as a lure to, well, lure prey. So it seems omnivorous in nature, just like its predators. Because Kingler is able to smash its shell open, you might think that the shell is pretty weak, but actually that's not the case. It's described as being harder than diamond, and people back in the day even used their shells as shields. Kingler probably is just capable of this because it specifically evolved to hunt these Pokemon, just like Amistar in the past. This little bivalve can also clamp down on others though, as a last resort. The only downside is that its insides are exposed now. Once it evolves into Cloister, it just gets stronger in every way. Being able to withstand a bomb? Missiles? Still not a Kingler though. Maybe people should use Kingler claws as weapons. Clearly they're tougher than frickin' bombs. Because Shellder can only hunt while its shell is open, and in a sense it's always open because you can just pull that tongue that's always sticking out, and you can just easily pry out whatever you want easily. Luckily though, when it reaches adulthood, it can now shoot spikes while being closed. So problem solved. And it's got a lot of these hard spikes. And they're constantly formed as well, with those who live in seas with harsh tidal waves. Though these spikes are also formed when its shell gets damaged. But even without those shell spikes, it's still got a face, and that big dangerous looking spike in the middle. And when it does the killing of its prey, it probably bites too when it's all out of spikes, while at the same time stabbing that big spike into its prey. Yeah, that doesn't sound like much fun. Otherwise, I can't really imagine it opening all that much. Cause why should it? Just open up quickly to see where your prey is and shoot while closed. Seems like a pretty good strategy. It's so good at hunting that there's really no way to open it, unless you're a certain crab Pokemon. No one has ever seen its innards after all. Although, couldn't they just find a dead one and pry it open? Alright, that's a little bit too dark for Pokemon, I guess. But hey, here's something funny. Cloister farts while swimming. Yeah, kind of. It swims by swallowing water, and then jets it out of its rear end to blast forward. This is also how it shoots spikes, by reverse farting. Just imagine that. You're in the ocean, and the only way to swim is to squeeze your ass cheeks really hard to propel yourself forward. That certainly feels shitty to do. So these two Pokemon are formidable predators, probably mainly hunting fish Pokemon, likely being ambush predators, and instantly going for the kill. While Shellder seems omnivorous, I think that just like with Krabby, that's only because they're babies. They need as much food as possible. But when they're grown, that's when their true carnivorous nature starts to show. So right now y'all expect me to talk about Slowpoke, right? And talk about the direct symbiosis that these two Pokemon have. Well, I'm actually not going to. Instead, I'm going to talk about a Pokemon that I believe hunts both the Kingler line and the Cloister line. Kind of a mini theory, really. And that is the shellfish Pokemon Blastoise. Yep, you heard me right, Blastoise. But wait a second, Prima, you might be asking. You can't find this line in the wild. Actually, that's wrong, you can. In Let's Go, you can find these Pokemon in Route 24, 25, and the Seafoam Islands, making them inherent to the ecosystem of this region. But why Blastoise? Well, because it's called the shellfish Pokemon. Now, Bulbapedia says that the shellfish thing could be a reference to its cannons, which may have been inspired by the functioning tubes that mussels and other shellfish have, but honestly, I just think that they put cannons on a turtle because it looks cool. And turtles aren't new to eating shellfish at all. A lot of sea turtles eat shellfish pretty much constantly, so I see this being the case with Blastoise as well. In case you don't know what shellfish means, it's basically a catch-all term for usually invertebrate hard-shelled animals that live in the water. But anyway, let's cover these Pokemon. So Squirtle is cute, but still a pretty fierce predator. This baby can shoot its prey from afar in the water, like one of those archerfish. I think that's really cool. If I were to guess its diet, I think bugs, mostly, just bug Pokemon that happen to fly over the water. Though some random vegetation I think would also work. Nothing too fancy. When born, its shell isn't there. At first it's pretty soft, but this hardens quickly. It's a pretty dang good shell. It can hide in it for self-defense, and shoot back water at the same time. The shape is also great for fast swimming. Foam can also be used for attacking, and also probably just to make it appear bigger, like with Krabby. foam doesn't look too tasty after all. Just a little scared baby looking for food and trying to survive, really. This changes a bit when it evolves into Wartortle. Now it's a moderately better hunter, being able to swim faster by using its ears, oddly, and it seemingly takes on a role of an ambush predator, hiding in the water to stalk prey. It's a buffed up Squirtle. All the other dex entries just talk about its furry tails being a sign of longevity, and the more scratches it has on its shell, the tougher it is in battle. So I'm gonna assume they're also pretty territorial and fight other Wartortle. The older this Pokemon is, the more algae it has on its shell. But they're also said to live up to 10,000 years, which, well, probably isn't the case, let's be real. It's also liked as a pet amongst old people, but that's not really too important right here. It might be a deep sea diver as well, as it's hinted in its Stadium Dex entry, so it hunting for various prey in the depths, maybe hidden under the sand or between some vegetation. Sounds pretty cool to me. Blastoise, however, is where it's at. This thing is really scary and powerful. Those cannons are terrifying. They're powerful enough to go not only right through concrete walls, but also thick steel. And the shots it can fire are very precise, being able to shoot as far as almost 50 meters. It can even use these cannons in other ways, such as using the force of the water for high-speed tackles. Ooh, that's gotta hurt. Especially with its heavy weight. Okay, it's not that heavy, but it can make itself heavier. Not sure exactly how it does that, but I can imagine that combination of tackling and making itself heavier being pretty dang devastating. You know, to me this Pokemon seems very specialized in busting through hard surfaces. But why thick steel? Isn't that a bit too much? Well, it may seem like a lot, unless you consider things like Kingler's exoskeleton and Cloister's very, very hard shell. Of course, busting through steel isn't hard at all when you're used to cracking open Cloister shells with your super high-speed tackles. I mean, Blastoise is called the shellfish Pokemon, and it's able to just go through hard materials super easily. Yeah, it eats those Pokemon. And I don't think that it being underwater will at all reduce the power of those cannons. Well, okay, maybe by a little bit, but you see its strength. So yeah, it shouldn't have a problem busting through these Pokemon at all. Since the Blastoise line also lives in the Seafoam Islands, it naturally interacts with a lot of Pokemon that live there and around it. But what are those Pokemon like? How do they interact with the ecosystem? Well, for that y'all will have to wait until next time. So, what did you all think of this episode? And especially on my wacky Blastoise theory that I just had out of nowhere because I remembered that it was called the shellfish Pokemon. Let me know in the comment section down below. In case you're feeling generous, I have a Patreon, which is in the description down below. It's only $1 a month, and while $1 a month may not seem like a lot, it really goes a long way. As always, if you enjoyed this video, be sure to hit that like button and subscribe if you haven't already. I got lots of cool stuff on the channel, and always more coming soon. And with that being said, I hope y'all have a good day, night, or morning, and as always, take care!